What up, y'all? It's DJ MV.
And I am Gia Casey.
And this is another edition of Pillow Talk with the Casey crew.
Welcome.
That's right. We haven't done Pillow Talk in a long time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we just been doing shit. We've been running around. There's a lot going on, from the car show to traveling to the kids starting school, back to school, real estate. There's a lot, but we're back today and we're going to do it today. There's a lot to talk about today.
Yes.
All right, so let's jump right into it. All right.
What do you want to talk about first?
Let's start with Kanye West visiting your president, Donald Trump.
Can you stop calling him my president? I don't think it's funny when you say that.
Oh, he's not my president, so I just assumed he's your president.
So we're married, and if he's not your president, then he automatically gets thrown off onto me?
Everything that...
I thought we share everything. I thought we're one. I thought we're one team.
We do share
Stop
everything.
doing that as a joke. I don't like it.
I don't share him. You can have him.
I don't want him.
All to yourself.
I don't want... He's the only other guy I can have all to myself?
Yeah, pretty much.
I don't like it. Don't do that.
All
Thanks.
right. Well,
I appreciate it.
Well, let's talk about Kanye West visiting the president.
Mm-hmm.
And now, you seen the full video. What did you think?
I was confused.
Okay. What were you confused about?
You know, a lot of people refer to Kanye West as a genius, and let's take for granted that that's true.
He is a musical genius.
I'm talking about an all-around genius. He was talking about intelligence percentiles during his interview with the president. So I took from that he is putting himself in a category of extreme high intelligence.
I believe that when it comes to some things.
Yes, altogether. I don't think just musically. So let's take for granted that that's true.
Okay.
I think that sometimes when you do have high intelligence, there's a certain kind of mania that goes on in your brain. Like
Right.
There's so many thoughts firing off at one time and so many connections that you make, and as you're talking you're thinking about the next thought and you don't completely finish your thoughts.
Correct.
Before you move on to the next. And I found that consistently happened as I was trying to follow each one of his ideas and each one of his thoughts. Well, not each one, but many of them. I found that they never really came full circle, and I didn't completely grasp what he was saying.
Okay.
Although I may not agree with him, at the very least, I'm interested to see what fuels him and where this drive is coming from and where this love of the president is coming from, because I don't like to judge people. I like to understand people.
Right.
And even if I don't agree with you, I like to at least appreciate or respect your perspective. And that's what I was trying to do during that interview. What I did notice is that there's a certain level of genuineness from him.
Okay.
And everything that he's saying, I believe that he believes.
Okay.
I don't believe that he's just out there trying to ruffle feathers. I believe that he has a deep-seated belief in the things that he's professing. So I'll give him that, but I didn't necessarily understand everything that he was saying and where he was coming from.
Okay. I'll tell you like this. You know,
So I'll start by saying that.
Watching the full interview, I didn't see the full interview before. The first time I seen it was with you. I'm not as mad as I was before.
Mm-hmm.
The clips that I seen was just the clips where it made it seem like Donald Trump was his father and he hasn't seen his father in 8 years. Just the way that he hugged him and so happy and I love you and this, that, and the other. That's what it made it seem like. It made it seem like he was just happy to be around Donald Trump and be around somebody who I don't necessarily like. And when I say I don't like what he says and what he does. The fact that, you know, he called Mexicans rapists and that all Mexicans are bad. And the fact that when it comes to, you know, deporting families away from their kids and grabbing women by the pussy and
Great.
A lot of the things that he said that I dislike and that I don't like, calling football players sons of bitches for protesting, you know, police brutality.
Mm-hmm.
The things that I don't like Donald Trump for, I just had a problem with an African American person being so chimmy choo with him. I just didn't like that shit.
Define chimmy choo.
It's just my way of saying all chummy, like, oh, that's my buddy. I love you so much. Like,
Right.
I just didn't like that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I just felt like You can go to the White House to get your point across. Go and say what you feel. But all that, kind of like massaging his back and rubbing his balls, I didn't like. That's what my problem was.
I didn't see that part of the interview.
Well, not rubbing his balls, but you see when he was over there hugging him and was like, I love you, man. Me and you are just as like. I took off the hat and this, that, and the other. Yes. The problem with the Make America Great Again hat refers to, especially in the African American community, is Make America Great Again, meaning like America was always great. America wasn't great to African Americans. It wasn't great to Native Americans. It wasn't great to a bunch of people who had to struggle. So Make America Great Again to a lot of people refers to going back to those days when we were in those positions.
But that's what he said during the meeting. He said that he recognizes that a big part of the problem with the hat is the word again.
Right, but he still wore that hat, though. He wore that hat that said Make America Great Again.
Right.
And he still wears it.
Right, and he said that he brought new hats that said Make America Great. And he's right. It's a nail on the head. It's the word again.
To take the fucking hat off.
Exactly. So it's like, really, so you want to make America the way that it was when things were horrible, like extra horrible for African American people,
for certain groups of people, not just African Americans. Absolutely,
exactly. That's the problem, and I like that he recognized that. But just like you said, he wore the hat regardless,
and continues to wear the hat.
He has to realize that is painful. So let me ask you a question, because I have an opinion. What do you think is Kanye West's infatuation with the president? Because that is what I saw in that interview.
He's definitely infatuated with the president.
I saw a very clear infatuation. And when he said that he loved Trump, I believed him.
Absolutely. I think with Kanye looks at the positive sides and doesn't look at the negative side. So the reason he likes Donald Trump because Donald Trump is not a politician. He says whatever the fuck he wants to say.
Right.
And we haven't seen that in the U.S. as far as government, really. Somebody that just is a straight shooter that's became a president. He likes that. He also likes the fact that Donald Trump is about America, I should say. Meaning he doesn't want to build factories in China, in Vietnam, and in places where labor is a lot cheaper. He wants to have a lot of these factories in the U.S. so it brings
strengthen the US
more
economy.
U.S. jobs, right? So that's what he likes about him. Those are the main things he likes about him. He likes the fact that he's a businessman and makes millions and millions and millions through business and does it his way. That's what he likes about Donald Trump.
But you know what I see more than anything?
What's that?
And I agree with everything that you just said. But more than those three things that you just listed, I think that he likes the fact that Trump is the kind of president that he can find himself, Kanye West can find himself in the Oval Office having a shoot the shit episode with the president.
Correct.
I think that he finds a sense of comfort in that. Like, he's one of us. Like, he's people's.
Correct.
You know what I mean? Like, we have a president that's people's.
Right.
But your people's is a sometimey racist.
Right.
You know, like, I'm sitting there watching it and I'm thinking to myself, how is it possible that this man who is a clear racist, judging by the words that come out of his mouth, clear racist, how can he sit across a table from two black men and express feelings of admiration and dope compliments on them and say great things? And I'm going to be honest with you. In those moments, I felt watching Trump that he wasn't a racist right there and then.
Right.
It's like he's a sometimey racist. It's like he's not racist when it suits him.
Correct.
When it benefits him, when it helps him, when it strengthens him, when it supports him, he's not a racist.
Right.
But he's like that kitchen table racist. You know, and I think that's why a lot of people like him. I think that he represents those conversations that we, not meaning us, meaning other people, only have at their kitchen tables. Like, you don't talk like this outside the house, but here in this house, around our kitchen table, we all know what it is.
Absolutely.
And this is what we think. And that's why I think is part of the reason why he has so much support. So for me, I just feel as though Kanye doesn't see his presidency in its totality. He doesn't see Trump as a whole person. He's just pulling from him the things that he likes and that speaks to him. And he's, in a sense, in my opinion, ignoring the negative.
Right. Right. And I agree with you. But the thing with, he did say some things that were truthful in that interview. Kanye West.
What?
That was good. The fact that he was able to sit down with the president, okay, that's a great thing. I didn't like the bootlicking thing, like you act like he's Santa Claus. I didn't like that shit. But I did like some of the things that he brought up. He brought up Chicago and the violence in Chicago and how they can change it. I mean, maybe Trump might flick him the finger when they leave, or maybe Trump might listen and say, you know what, I'm going to look a different way. And Trump said he was open to some of the things Kanye said.
That's one of the things that I did like that Trump said.
But we don't know if that's just for the camera or if that's absolutely true. So I did like that. I like the fact that they spoke about business. They spoke about a bunch of different things that affect our community. Now, if Trump will listen, we don't know. But the fact that he had Trump's ear to have those conversations, I respect it. I'm not mad at that. I do feel what you said. Sometimes Kanye just speaks and he just be going left and right and straight and back, and you don't know which point he's trying to close. Yeah. But it gets to the point where I just didn't like the whole, I love you, man. I love you, bro. I look up to you, bro. We should do something and have Trump. Like, I didn't like that shit. Like, stop jerking stop jerking him off.
I didn't feel that way. I felt that was a genuine moment for him, whether I agree with it or not, whether I like the person whose ass he's kissing or not isn't the point. I just believe that in that moment he was genuinely telling another man how he felt about him. So that bothered you. That didn't bother me as much. I am more so bothered by the look the other way syndrome that I feel as though he's going through. Like, he's not looking at a lot of the things that are important. Let me ask you this.
Yes.
Did you, the point that I was really, really trying to follow is where he said that, and I'm paraphrasing, he said African Americans are more concerned with brands than land.
Okay.
That was like one of the first points that he made.
Right.
And I was really trying to follow that point.
Okay.
And that was one of the ones that didn't really come full circle, that it didn't land for me. I feel as though the point wasn't made.
Okay. He never made that point. It was a statement.
He led with it.
He made a statement basically saying that African Americans are more concerned with buying, clothes, cars, and jewelry than actually owning something. He did say that. He didn't have a point with it. He just said it and then kept it moving.
No, I felt as though it was going somewhere, and then it's like he interrupted himself with his own thoughts.
He did. He does that a lot. He did that in that whole conversation. He would start somewhere and then go somewhere else. He did that a lot in that conversation. I'm going to say
this. I think that Kanye is coming from a good place. I think he just gets in the way of himself, and maybe that mania that's going on in his mind prevents him from accomplishing the ultimate goal.
I think I agree with you. And I think
do you know what I mean?
I think a lot of it's lack of knowledge too.
And what kind of knowledge? What do you mean?
Okay. It's kind of like this, and we've all been guilty of it, and especially me. It's like, let somebody tell me about, I don't know, I'll say a car. Let somebody tell me about a car, right? I think I'll know everything about that car because somebody told me, and I'm so excited and I just want to talk about the car, but I really don't have that much information about that car. All I know is what one person told me, and I really need to do my homework if I'm going to be able to debate and talk about it.
And be on such a big platform
to do it.
To open your mouth where you're so influential.
Exactly.
But can I just say this? You know what I really have a problem with in this whole scenario?
What's that?
I, honest to God, believe that quote unquote celebrities have too much power. Why the hell do I, Gia Casey, give a bleep about Kanye's political position and what he thinks?
We shouldn't, but
and I don't understand that. Why does the public care about what celebrities think? A celebrity's opinion is just as valid as yours and mine. And
it's not.
Everyone has one.
It's not.
Why isn't it? Because you can sing, because you can rap, because you can dance, because you can play a sport, because you can act. Why does that make your opinion any more important than anybody else's? And why does that make your opinion one that the masses should follow or be impacted by? I don't even understand that.
It's easy to understand and explain. A celebrity's opinion has more influence than a regular person's opinion.
But it shouldn't.
It definitely shouldn't.
That's my point.
But this is the thing.
I know that it does. I'm talking about whether it should or should not.
Of course it shouldn't, but it does. And that's what people follow.
That's
people
the
are
reason
upset
why I'm
with
bringing
Kanye
it up. People should realize that.
People are upset with Kanye because what Kanye does is he says something and people know that there's a group of people that don't necessarily know and will never do the homework to understand and just believe what he says. So what Kanye is doing is actually hurting the community because people are following him blindly, not doing their homework. It's kind of like you and me of the household, and we tell our kids something. Our kids believe in us. Mm-hmm. So if we don't have the right information, they're following down a road misinformed.
But this is my point. That is not the way that it should be. And that's why I'm saying it here on this podcast. People need to realize that a celebrity is just another person. You know, they're not specifically educated in these fields unless they go out of their way to educate themselves. And a lot of time they don't put those credentials up when they're out there giving their opinions.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Like, people have to understand that it is their opinions. Like, for instance, you and I, we're sitting here, we're doing a podcast. All that we are doing is exchanging our opinions and
Correct.
having a conversation and giving people a way to listen to that.
Right.
But that's all that it is. It doesn't mean you have to agree with us. It doesn't mean that we have a certain edge. If you find that we do, if you like our opinions consistently, then that's great. But we don't have superpowers.
Yeah.
Do you understand? It bothers me that people put so much weight on what he says and what he does.
No, me as well. But this is the thing.
Because it's such a big deal in our culture right now.
What people don't understand is there's a lot of people that might not have both parents in their household, or if they do have both parents in their household, don't necessarily like their parents. There's a lot of people that they feel like, I know what I'm doing. I got this. I don't need you, mom. And that's what a lot of teens feel at that age. I probably felt like that a little bit. I'm sure maybe you felt like that a little bit.
No,
maybe
I didn't feel that way.
Maybe I felt like that a little bit. But they fall into music, or they fall into their favorite celebrity because that's what they're into. Like, you listen to these kids. Why do kids try drugs a lot of times? Or why do they try different things or different clothes or items or food? Because they hear their favorite artists do it. Mm-hmm. They hear their favorite artists talk about it, and they're influenced and they do it. And it's the same thing with everything else. That's why so many people, especially political people that know what's going on, is so upset with Kanye because they're like, you don't know all the information and you hear spewing shit.
You're out here running your mouth.
Right. And you're
misinformed.
And you're misinformed. And that can affect people
or
in a nasty
ill-informed.
way. Yeah, absolutely.
And you, not for nothing, he does have a certain mental condition.
Right. Absolutely.
All of these things need to be taken into consideration when you put your stock in the opinion of others. You have to consider the source.
Absolutely.
You have to know who you're listening to. Me personally, I find entertainment value in it, but I don't care what he does on Saturday Night Live. I don't care what he does in the Oval Office. I don't care what he says in his songs. And I think that more people need to subscribe to not caring.
I agree with you 150%.
So there we have it. All right, let's move on.
All right, now let's talk Drake.
Okay.
Now, if you haven't heard, Drake, actually not even Drake, LeBron James does this show on HBO. And I think it's called The Barbershop, where he gets different artists. They like kind of sit in a barbershop setting and they kind of talk about everything that's going on. Well, in this episode, Drake talked about his diss record and his beef with Pusha T and Kanye West that happened a couple of months ago, right before his album came out. Now, he talked about Pusha T going at him and how it came about. He feels that him and Kanye was cool. You know, he played Kanye songs off his album. And when he did, he played Kanye the song about him basically telling the world he had a child. And he was telling Kanye about his problem with his baby mom and the stress that they were going through. And he feels like Kanye told Pusha T about it. But he said that wasn't the problem, that he really had a problem when Pusha T threw the diss record at him. His problem was Pusha T going at his producer 40, saying that he had MS, he's about to die, this, that, and the other. So the question I have, because you heard the whole interview, when people are beefing, is anything off limits?
I think that it's clear that certain things should be off limits. And Drake said it during that conversation. He said, you know, people say, oh, there's no rule. And I'm paraphrasing something like, you know, there's no rules in hip hop. He was like, but yeah, there are MFN rules. There are rules. Yes, there are rules. And we use this analogy a lot, but you don't bring a gun to a knife fight. You know, if things are on a certain level, you keep it kind of on that level. And yeah, I understand, like, you know, once you open up Pandora's box, you don't know what to expect. Kind of everything is fair game. But there are certain things, just like Drake said, his producer is his producer, right?
40, yeah.
40.
I think his producer and best friend.
He was ill. He died?
No, he didn't die.
Because he did say something about someone dying.
No, somebody said something like that before. It was another rapper, but he didn't die. 40 didn't die.
Oh, okay. So he said, you know, when you go at someone who's ailing, who's sick, who's in a hospital, or someone who passed, or something to that effect, that's defenseless and that has nothing to do with anything, that's crossing the line. I think if you talk about someone's sick mother or someone's child, I think that there are lines. Like if we all keep it on the same level, the same playing ground where the offenses are somewhat equal, then I think that's cool. Because really, all of this rap battle stuff, I don't think anybody really wants to be shooting at each other in the middle of the street. I think that the whole rap battle thing is A, for these entertainers to get things off their chest, and B, to express themselves in a creative way to entertain the public. If that wasn't the case, then they would pick up the phone, they would meet, they would, you know, set up a little boxing match. They would handle it a different way, but they do it publicly because it's a way to display their creativity, their distaste, and to entertain at the same time. So to go at someone's family, their parents, their kids, someone that's in their life that's sick is uncalled for. And that doesn't really speak to your creativity. To me, it just makes you look like a wuss.
See, I don't agree. All right. Now, Pusha T put out a record, threw a stab at Drake. Said you didn't write your own lyrics, right? Drake responded with a diss record and mentioned Pusha T's fiance at the time.
I remember.
Didn't say anything ill, just said her name. All right. It was nothing ill. He just said her name. Pusha T responded with, you know, told about Drake having the son and called him a deadbeat, called his parents, and went over. I look at it like this. If this is a battle, there's nothing off limits.
I disagree with
you.
Let
me tell you. There's nothing off limits. Now, what happens from whatever you say is not off limits either. What Drake said now you said you mentioned my friend. Now, what happens after that? You get punched in the face. You get punched in the face. That's what you get. That's how I look at everything. Now, you're right. Pusha T threw a shot at Drake. Drake mentioned Pusha T's fiance. Why are you mentioning my fiance, dog? Don't even mention my fiance.
Hold on, but then why are you saying that you disagree with me? Because basically what you're saying is that you agree with me and you think that certain things should be off limits.
No, he mentioned that. He mentioned my fiance. Let me finish. You mentioned my fiance. Okay. So now I could take it where I want to take it. And that's how I look at it. Now, if you felt like you shouldn't have mentioned my friend, then you shouldn't have mentioned my fiance.
But you asked me if certain things should be off limits. I said yes, certain things should be off limits. And you said that you disagree. But here and now, you're saying that you shouldn't have mentioned my fiance, which means that you think that certain things should be off limits.
You're right. Certain things should be off limits. I'm going to change that. I'm going to change that. No, I'm going to change that. And
yes,
and certain things should be off limits. And I think when Drake mentioned the fiance, even though it wasn't no ill will, he didn't say anything disrespectful. He just mentioned her name. Pusha T was like, "Fuck it."
See, you're because you were a little bit off because you're coming at me from a Pusha T supporter in this situation.
No, I'm
yes, that's how you just responded.
Pusha T's my guy, but I took it as if I'm in the battle, right, and I throw the first shot. Now Pusha threw. First shot.
I agree with that.
Right?
No. I don't believe that.
That was lyrical exercise.
I don't believe that you go too far with me, but then I have to turn around and humble myself in response to you.
Right.
No, I don't agree with that. But I do think that it is a more mature, sophisticated, and manly way to handle yourself, to not go ham and retaliate in the same manner. But that's just being
Correct.
a bigger and better person. That's not the most realistic in this culture and in rap battles and things of that nature. I'm just saying, I think that would be the better way to handle it. And Drake did turn around and handle it that way, because he said that he went and wrote a disgusting response.
And I believe him.
He said he did his research.
I believe him.
He found out what he needed to find out.
As he should have.
And he killed a whole song, went back, reread it, and said, you know what? I'm not even going to put this out because this isn't the me that I want to be remembered for.
Right.
I think that's what he was referring to when he said a chink in his armor. I think
yeah, that's what he meant.
People's memories of that song being a chink in his armor.
Right.
He's so successful and so elevated and so great that to put something out so dirty, filthy, and disgusting would just diminish his greatness.
See, he's better than me, because I would have put that out and I would have seen Pusha T. Absolutely. And Pusha T's my guy. Like, if you don't know me and Pusha T, I went to school in Hampton, Virginia. Pusha T was my guy. We hung out all the time. That's my guy. But Pusha T went so far left.
Yeah.
He would owe me 5 minutes. Mm-hmm. But that's rap battle. And, I'm glad it's over. I mean, they're still talking about it, but it seems to be over, and we'll see what happens from there.
But it seems like it'll never be cool between Drake and Kanye.
Never.
Again.
Never.
But that's foul what Kanye did, if it's all true.
Well, Kanye said he didn't, but yeah, you probably did. But I look at it like this.
But he said a lot about the whole Kanye, like basically how Kanye kind of set him up and then rolled out his album after. You need to talk about that. Explain that a little bit better.
Yeah, he talked about
how he came and basically wrote for Kanye in Wyoming, and then Kanye puts out Pusha T's album, who signed to him, and in Pusha T's album, there's a song going at Drake for not writing his own stuff. Meanwhile, Drake just got back from Wyoming writing for Kanye.
Right.
It's a huge contradiction. And in my opinion, if Pusha's signed to Kanye, he should have pulled rank and been like, nah, you can't do that.
Well, not even pull rank. Give me a heads up, but like, yo, because we're cool. We're cool. Like, you came over here to help me write. Like, yo, just give you a heads up. Pusha T threw a shot at you. I told him to chill, but I can't mess with anybody's, artistry. Mm-hmm. So, we left it in there, but I just wanted to give you the heads up. That's what he should have did.
How do you expect that someone's not going to feel some type of way?
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? You out here deliberately ruining relationships. Like, I don't know why Kanye will go out of his way to ruin a relationship with Drake.
Perfect example, right? And now this is a long time ago when I did my album. Lloyd Banks and 50 Cent did a record on my album.
Which album?
I only had one album, so.
Oh, well, the rest were just singles.
Yeah,
so
the rest was singles. My album. And Lloyd Banks and 50 Cent did a record for my album, and they were dissing the shit out of Irv and Ja Rule. Mm-hmm. Irv and Ja Rule gave me a song for my album. Mm-hmm. I would be a bitch ass if I put that album out and then Irv and Ja Rule turned it on and heard that. Mm-hmm. I would be. Right. So I called Irv and said, yo, just to give you a heads up, Fifth and them gave me a record. He's going at you. Mm-hmm. Just so they knew. Not to say I was going to take it off because I didn't care, but I wanted to give him the heads up so he knew and understood. And he replied, I no doubt, man. Thanks for letting me know. And that was it.
There's a way to do things, and then there's the right way to do things.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And sometimes when you choose the wrong way to do things, you ruin relationships.
Absolutely. So now let's talk about the last thing we're talking about today.
Okay.
Quavo.
Okay.
Quavo released a new album. Honcho. I think it's called Honcho. Album is dope. I like the album. One of the records that people are talking about is called Honcho Dreams, where he talks about, we don't know if this is a dream or if this is actual facts. People
what
are,
is it? What?
People are
what?
And the reason, let me explain.
Really?
Let me explain. Because remember, Nicki Minaj did Dreams, and that was a, kind of her rendition of a Biggie's classic of Dreams of fucking an R&B bitch. So hers was just Dreams of fucking, I guess, an industry dude. Right. And Honcho, or Quavo's record, is called Honcho Dreams. Mm-hmm. So he talks about Nicki Minaj.
It wasn't Dreams. He said her name explicitly in the song.
But the name of the song is called Honcho Dreams.
And he referenced something that actually happened.
Allegedly, we don't know.
Everybody saw the Instagram video of her going crazy over the 2 Chanel bags that she received from a secret somebody at that point. That wasn't on the album, no. But he referenced that specifically in his song. Mm-hmm. So that tie-in gives the direct impression that he's not talking about a dream. He is directly implying that what he's saying in the song happened. So let's just be clear. I don't like the, allegedly, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, like, let's just call it what it is.
Right. So
that's what his implication is.
So what did you think about the song? Do you think it was too far? Do you think it was foul for doing it?
Ooh, that's a good question. Let me think about that before I answer. Do I think it's too far? Do I think that it's foul? Before I can give an opinion, I would like to know what Nicki did to ruffle his feathers for him to throw her all the way under the bus the way that he did, run over her and then reverse and then put it back in drive and then run over her again. That's what I want to know. Like, what sparked that? We watched the video. You deliberately didn't talk to me about it so we could talk about it here on these mics. So I need to ask you that question. Am I missing something?
I mean,
what happened?
We don't know. I mean, we absolutely positively don't know.
Well, she must have upset him in one hell of a way.
We absolutely don't know.
Somehow, some way.
Well, let me tell you about Nicki Minaj and the people out there, you know.
Would you want to talk about Nicki Minaj first, or do we talk about the lyrics in the song first, and then you talk about Nicki Minaj?
Let's talk about Nicki Minaj first.
Okay.
Nicki Minaj, throughout the years, in my opinion, has changed as far as a person. Meaning, it seems like she's very vindictive and very mean, nasty. Mm-hmm. From the things that I can see. When I used to speak to Nicki, she was a different person. Now, it just seems like she's a different person. I don't speak to her anymore. Only what I can see is what she says, what she puts on her Twitter and Instagram, and when she does her Queen Radio. A lot of the things I see is
Have you listened to Queen Radio?
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Very vindictive. So a lot of people were talking about, for instance, Cardi B got arrested recently, and this was because allegedly she sent somebody to beat up 2 bartenders that allegedly was fucking her boyfriend. Right, this is all alleged. The reason that she got arrested is because police said that they heard it on Nicki Minaj's radio show, with Nicki Minaj bringing it up and trying to get the girls to call in and talking about the situation, and because of that. That's why the charges were brought back up and she was arrested. It's all alleged. Mm-hmm. Maybe that's part of it, because Quavo's looking at it like, my best friend, my man, is married to her and you're trying to get her in trouble. I don't know. We don't know. But as far as the song is concerned and how disrespectfully got in the song, talking about busting on her face and, you know, fucking her and leaving money on the counter like she's a fucking just a
No. He said leaving fire on the counter, not five on the table, or
I thought it was five. No,
fire. He said fire.
I thought it was like $5 on the table. Like, here, take this.
That's what I thought when I heard it, which is why I Googled the lyrics. So I could read it, and according to what I read, the word was fire.
Sometimes them lyrics might be wrong, because I thought it was.
That's what I'm saying. Okay, that's why I'm prefacing it by saying, according to what I read, it said fire, but maybe it was 5. I don't know. Let's just be clear.
So, what did you think about the diss record? Did you think it went too far?
My opinion is bias, so I'm just gonna put that out there. Disclaimer alert. Disclaimer alert.
Why?
I get the impression that Nicki Minaj is such a nasty, mean individual that I didn't get the impression that it was too far. It may have been too far. It probably was too far. I think it depends on what was done to provoke that. Mm-hmm. And I feel as though, like, for instance, one of the things that I like, a lot of times when I see Nicki Minaj, I just, like, I have this look on my face like, ew. Like, why? For instance, what was it? Was it the MTV Music Awards? Mm-hmm. Let me recall what happened. She got up there to receive an award. Uh-huh. Tiffany Haddish was on the stage, and Tiffany Haddish made a joke, took a little shot at the girls from Fifth Harmony. Correct. Because apparently one of the girls from Fifth Harmony made it big. She left, she made it big. Yep. And she might have said something to the effect of, like, where are the other ones? Mm-hmm. Or something like that. When Nicki Minaj got on the stage, I don't know, she was very short and nasty, and there was like a little stab to Tiffany Haddish. Like, I don't remember the girl's name, but I guess Nicki Minaj really likes the girl, and was like, so-and-so is that bitch. Just the way that she did it, I just looked at it like, ugh, why are you so nasty? You know? Yeah. So she doesn't leave a good taste in my mouth, personally. I'm not a Nicki Minaj fan, personally. So when you see someone who's mean, who kind of behaves like a bully, who's outspoken and not in a nice way, get their just desserts, as a human being, it's not my first reaction to be like, oh, she didn't deserve that. She might not have deserved it. But I'm just saying, as a human being and as someone that's not her fan, it's not my first reaction.
Right. I mean, I feel the same way. I mean, just knowing who she is now and how nasty she is and how she goes at people and the things that she does, I just really don't have time for it, man. And I'll be honest, I like Nicki. I was a Nicki fan. Like, I like her as a rapper. But all the shenanigans and the shit she does is kind of just like whatever. Like, I ain't gonna be mad. I was like, okay, Quavo, all right, fuck it. Yeah, go in. Who cares? That's how I felt because I know.
That's my point. Like, I'm just being real. Like,
I know who she is.
I want to say the right thing.
Right.
I want to say, well, yeah, he probably went too far, and talking about the sex acts that he had with her and putting it on public display isn't right. Regardless, but should I be saying that? Probably. But that's not really how I feel. That's not really.
No, because she's a nasty person.
When you don't really like somebody and you don't find them being that considerate of other people's feelings when their feelings get hurt, you don't find yourself being sympathetic for them.
Absolutely.
Do you understand what I'm saying? So that's kind of my whole thing. Like with that Tiffany Haddish thing, I felt like I wanted Tiffany Haddish to say something. Tiffany Haddish's response, just based on her facial expression, was kind of like, oh. And I wanted to be like, say something, do something, like stand up for yourself, because you just got sunned and it wasn't cool.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So that I don't like. So parts of the song were, just like you said, him referring to ejaculating on her face.
Busting on her face. Huh?
Basically, him telling her to bounce her ass and that she was riding his tree. Basically, him saying that she told him that he hurt her feelings or that she was hurt 52 times. And basically implying that she was crying over him.
Right.
So it was just like a lot of little personal things that kind of I got the direct impression that he had zero respect for her.
Right.
And the part about the Chanel bag, I don't know. I would assume that a lot of our listeners probably saw it. But on Instagram, she opened up 2 boxes that had Chanel bags in them. And it was a very strange video. I remember when I saw it, I'm like, what is this? This looks so simple and weird.
Right.
Like it was very weird. But as she's opening up the boxes, she's squealing and laughing and giggling and overjoyed and overly excited about receiving these 2 Chanel bags from a person who she didn't say who it was, but she's like, thank you. And all of this, it was like a lot of shenanigans. It was really weird. And come to find out that according to his song, he basically said, I got you Chanel bags, 2 of them. And was it at his premiere? He did like a reenactment of her Instagram video?
He had a listening session and he did a reenactment before he played the song. So
of her Instagram video. So someone basically doing what she did.
Correct.
So like when we started talking about this story, you're like allegedly, no, he directly inferred that he was talking about her and that situation. He
I just said allegedly. I mean, this could be his dream. I don't know if he really fucked or not. We don't know. That's what I'm saying.
Of course not. I'm talking about what he's implying.
Right.
So there you have it.
All right. Well, you guys listen to the song. Let us know what you think. You can hit us in DM. You can hit us on the email. We'd love to hear from you. Hit us in the comments as well. All right. It's time to get up out of here.
Yes. How long was that? Check the time.
39 minutes.
Okay.
All right. Well, I'm DJ.
I squeezed out an extra 9 minutes out of you.
You did. Well, I'm DJ Envy.
And I am Gia Casey.
And that was the Pillow Talk with the Casey crew.
Doodles.